Thank you. That was nice. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. You remember this? The first verse of Mahabharata. Right? We will start off in the when we left in Bharatam today. We know Bharatam is about two streams of people. One stream has got Dharmam, Satyam, and along with that they have Bhagavan on their side. The other has got Adharmam, Asatyam, Avishwasam. They don't have faith in God, and therefore their efforts are not helped by Daiva Anugraham. That means there is no grace of God in their effort. On the one side there is Dharmam, Satyam, and there is therefore the grace of God. The other side is Adharmam, Asatyam, there is no grace of God, they don't have faith. These are the two. Now, how does one get Daiva Anugraham? How do you get the grace of God? You get it by sadhu sangati, by associating yourself with good people, saints and sages and good people. That is how you get the grace of God. If you take the sea, all the water that anybody drinks anywhere in the world has its origin in the sea. Whether it is India, America, Pakistan, Russia. The sun evaporates the sea, gives it to you in the form of rain, which comes to you in the form of rivers and lakes, which you then are able to drink. And the rivers go back to the sea. How much ever rivers go into the sea and how much ever water evaporates, sea remains the same. That doesn't get affected. Right? But from that, if you take a comparison, you can take, for example, the sea to be like what we understand as God. From there only everything comes. And the saints and sages are like the rain clouds which take the water from there and give it to you where you require it. If you directly take the water from the sea and drink it, what will happen? You will vomit what you ate yesterday also. Whereas if you take it after it has been filtered by these people to what is suitable for you and you take it, it's fine for you. Alright? There are many. So this is how you have to have the rain clouds and the good people, the sadhu sangati in the form of monsoon clouds are required for you to be able to quench your heat of your spiritual practice. Now, Bharatam and Niti Shastram of Shukra, we have said, clearly says, if you want happiness, the only way is through dharma. Dharman. Sukham tu na vina dharmat. Without dharma, there is no sukham. Niti Shastram is fully about how to make profit. Accountancy, how to make profit. So they said, but how to get happiness? That you cannot find in economics book. How to get happiness will not be there in economics book. How to make profit will be there. How to make country prosperous in terms of money will be there. But that will not tell you how to get happiness. For that you have to follow dharma. And simple ways of doing what? Whenever why are we going through the stories of Bharatam, elaborate stories? Let me tell today an example what happened today. I was going to Theosophical Society for a car. I was going in my, Selvaraj was driving, I was in the car. And suddenly in front of me, towards the Padayar bridge, the flyover, from an auto, suddenly I saw a woman under an auto. A woman was under an auto and she was being dragged. And the auto screeched to a halt. Then few minutes we had to halt the car. Then few minutes later I understood and Selvaraj told me that this lady was in the auto and she had jumped out of the moving auto. She had jumped out of the moving auto and the auto was dragging her and the guy had screeched to a halt. Auto driver screeched to a halt. This lady was on the road, in a sitting position. The auto had dragged her a bit. She had jumped down. And the auto driver, young man, he got down. Young man, he got down and he hit her. Patak. Okay. He hit her. Alright. Alright. He hit her. Now, I wanted nothing to do with it. No, what do I have? Well, I told Selvaraj, she seems to be not hurt and we'll go. But he was very keen to know what the bloody hell is happening. Okay. He is very keen to know. Already people are collecting. Okay. And this lady is not perturbed a bit. She's taken one whack and she's quite alright. Okay. Now, in his infinite wisdom, Selvaraj told me, Kudumba prachanaya irukkum. Okay. It must be a family affair. And then he said, then we must not interfere. And we went off. Family affair. Woman, husband is taking wife on the auto. She jumps because she's angry with him. He beats her because she jumped. This is okay, or whoever, from family affair. So it's a Kudumba prachanai. In a Kudumba prachanai, police will not interfere. Passers-by will not interfere. It's a Kudumba prachanai. Now, this Bharatam is about nothing but a Kudumba prachanai. But look at the magnitude of the Kudumba prachanai of Pandavas and Kauravas, that we have this fantastic story. So from the form of a Kudumba prachanai, we are going to glean wisdom in the form of dharma. Simple things we know in our Indian culture and heritage. When we talk about dharma, we talk about dana dharmam. It usually comes synonymously. Dana dharma onnu pannle our family la kepa. Yen eppadi aayidhu? And Dhanam, for example, it is said the most best form of Dhanam is Annadanam. In fact, Bharatam, where it is said, there is a tradition to do Annadanam. At least some chocolate, etc. can be given to the students if possible. Some Annadanam is supposed to be done. Where Bharatam is. It is a tradition. It is a part of the tradition. Okay? And if some rice, annam from your kitchen goes and satisfies the hunger of people who have just finished doing a yagam, day's yagam, morning till evening. They have not had any salt in their food. They have finished the yagam. Then something from your kitchen goes into their stomach. 101 generations of your family gets merit out of that act. This they say. Okay. When Kripananda Variyar, who was a great exponent of Katha Solrathula, his grandmother, old 80-odd-year-old woman, when he was young man of about 17, barely figuring out what he's going to do in life, told him, if you become a man one day and are able to do it, I would like you to do one thing. I would like you to have a chatram in the village where Annadanam is done to poor people who cannot have food. 90-year-old illiterate woman, he tells us, and he became a very big man. Of course, you should see his village. It is a beautiful village with a terrific temple and it's amazing. He's transformed the place. He's made a chatram there, named it after his grandmother. Now, why I said that is that simple things of dharma that you got to feed, Annadanam is good. Now, everywhere in India we used to have dharmashala, chowdhury. If people used to go to Badrinath, they'll go to Kali Kambliwali ashram on the way, where you will get a little bit of food to eat and you will get a blanket for the night. Okay? Delhi, you come, anywhere you go, a stranger, pilgrim will first find out where is the chatram, dharmashala, where he can put his bed down, get something to eat. Nothing exists, it's all going out now. You don't find, but that is a part of a tradition. The rich people will have a dharmashala, they'll feed. Right. So let's come to today's story. I don't know how far we'll go, but because of a 7 to 8 time limit, we may cut at a commercial break and catch back next week kind of stuff. Let us see if we remember a few things of Bharatam, basic things. We remember Bhishma, all of us? We remember that he has taken a pratigya, he is not going to get married. Remember that. We remember his father's second wife, Satyavati. His mother is Ganga. Satyavati, Matsya Gandha. She got several names, Yojana Gandha, several names. And then through Matsya Gandha there were two sons. The second son was, first son died. Second son was Vichitravirya. Vichitravirya was married to Ambika and Ambalika. Amba, of course, is a different story. Ambika and Ambalika. And Vichitravirya led a life of great passion, fast life in fourth gear, and died. He got tuberculosis and died. Two reasons are assigned in Bharatam for his getting tuberculosis and dying at a young age. One, he led a fast, passionate life. Two, because of him, one woman, Amba, could not get married. That dosha was there. Then we also heard the story how, for the purpose of the Kulam to continue, for the Kuru Vamsham, something had to be done. But Bhishma was not willing to marry because he was Pratigya. Vyasa was asked by Satyavati. Vyasa also is Satyavati's son. And because of Vyasa, Ambika gives birth to Pandu, Ambalika gives birth to Dhritarashtra, and another lady gives birth to Vidura. So far so good, we continue from there now. Right. Yeah, no, first one was, yes, Dhritarashtra, Ambalika to Pandu. Correct. Absolutely right. Now, Bhishma brings these children up. Bhishma is bringing up the children, is also running the government on their behalf. Right? Okay. And how is this? And then when Bhishma is running the country on their behalf, the country is bound to flourish. There is no question. He is the greatest of great statesmen. Country is flourishing. How is it flourishing? In that country, Mana Krodha Vihinasya Nara Lobha Vivarjitaha. People don't have pride. Manam is not there. Krodham, anger is not there. People don't get anger, they don't get pride, they are not greedy, they are happy in each other's happiness, and they are all doing their swadharma properly. This is how that country is going. Okay? He gets for these boys, Pandu, Dhritarashtra and Vidura, Bhishma is taking care of their needs. He ensures that their Upanayanam is done, they are taught the Vedas, they are taught the Shastras, they are taught horse riding, they are taught physical fitness, they are taught to archery, they are taught Gadayuddham. All that is bringing them up. Okay? They are taught elephant riding, they are told the Itihasas and the Puranas, they are told stories, everything. They are under his care. Dhritarashtra, Pandu, Vidura. Alright? Each has got different qualities. Pandu becomes extremely good in Dhanurvidya, in archery. He becomes unmatched. He is extremely good. Alright. Second, Dhritarashtra became extremely the greatest in strength. That fellow had the strength of 10,000 elephants kind of stuff. Strong man, but he was blind. Remember? Dhritarashtra is blind. And Vidura became the greatest in dharma. And the commentator of Bharatam says that means he was a Atmanishtha. Means he was self-realized man. He got self-realization. Vidura. He was Dharmaputra. He is the incarnation of Yama. Dharmaputra. Dharmaputra, so naturally, Dharmaraja. So naturally he will be the greatest in dharma. Also, because of curse of a Mandavya Rishi had when he was a small child, he had kuttified the back of some dragonflies and some those kind, and then for that he was punished with having to have the spike in his backside. And then he said that below the age of 12, if a child does any mistake, that should not be taken by the god for punishment. And then he increases, gives 2 years more this thing, and says up to the age of 14, mistake it's okay. But after 14, whatever a person does, there will be good will get good, bad will get bad. Alright? So Vidura has been born. Okay? Vidura has been born. Vidura is the greatest in dharma. He is Atmanishta because Atma Vidya is the greatest dharma. That's all the tika. So he was like that. But Vidura is he was born not to a Kshatriya woman. And Dhritarashtra is a blind man. So Pandu is the king. He is made the king. Okay? Yeah. No. Pandu is made the king. Can't have a blind king possible. There's an alternative. Yeah. Now, Bhishma one day meets Vidura and seeks his advice. Bhishma seeks Vidura's advice. Because Vidura is the man who Niti and Dharma. And talks about, he says, we need to think about our Vamsham, of the family dynasty going further. All of you three boys have now become men, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. I have looked around. There are some wonderful princesses who may be considered for marriage. In Yadukula, that is Krishna's line, in Yadukula, there is a Shurasena's daughter called Pritha. There is a king called Shurasena who is called Pritha, who has been given by Shurasena to his best friend Kunta Bhoja or some such thing. Kunti Bhoja is his name. There are two kings of friends, and one of them couldn't have children, so other said, the first child of mine I'll give you. First child was a girl, he gave it to him. So, he's also a king. That girl is called Pritha. She's supposed, and Bhishma says, we get glowing reports about her. That's one princess. Then there's the Madra king, and he has got, there's a princess there who's also well talked about. Then there's the Gandhar king. Gandhar is modern Afghanistan. Gandhar king. Gandhar king has got a daughter. Everybody speaks very well about her. There are such people whom we can consider for alliance to our. What is your opinion? I asked Vidura. Vidura tells him, Bhavan Pita, Bhavan Mata, Bhavam Nah Paramo Guru. He said, tell Bhishma, you are father, our father. You are our mother, you are our Parama Guru. Tasmat Swayam Kulasyasya Vicharya Kuru Yadhitam. Therefore, you yourself decide what is for the good of our kulam and do it. Where is my question? What advice I can give you on this? Whatever you think is right by us. This is the quality of great people. Great people don't even thrust their greatness upon others. Bhishma doesn't need to ask these people's permission. On the contrary, as he did for Vichitraviryan, he can go and conquer all these three women, bring them and get them married if he wants. Okay, but a person like Vidura is there. It is but right that you ask Vidura, what is your opinion about this? Great people, when they start on projects like this, Acharya and all, they'll ask all sorts of people in the Marun Pannaal Enna. It will be a good thing, but still, they will ask. So he says, you whatever you say is best is best. Now there is the Gandhar king, his name is Subala. The Gandhar king, Afghanistan king, name is Subala. He has a daughter, her name is Gandhari. So Bhishma goes to meet Subala and puts the proposal for Dhritarashtra for Gandhari. Dhritarashtra is blind. Naturally, Subala, being Gandhari's father, is reluctant to give his daughter, his beautiful daughter, princess, to a blind prince. He is reluctant. But it is not easy to say no to Bhishma either. Okay? Bhishma has come with a proposal. There are any number of reasons why you can't say no to Bhishma. Firstly, Bhishma is a statesman of the highest order. He would have thought it through absolutely before he will take a step. He will not act in haste. And what he does will be dharmically right. That we know. Okay. And then again, who is to take enmity with Bhishma? Okay. Alright. So he is reluctant, at the same time he doesn't know. The matter reaches the ears of Gandhari. And Gandhari, no sooner she hears it, she decides this is right for her. But then she also decides that she will not get into a position where she will observe even one defect in her would-be husband. Even one defect in her would-be husband, she will not observe. That is her resolve, vratam. Therefore, she agrees immediately. The father also agrees to the match, but she takes a silk cloth, makes it into lots of these things and ties her eyes completely and says, I will not use these eyes to see if my husband does not have sight, and I do not want to see him without sight either. That defect also I don't want to be. I will be on the same as my husband. As far as this sense organ is concerned, my eyes are closed forever, closes it. That is the Gandhari. Gandhari has got a brother whose name is Shakuni. Shakuni brings Gandhari and gives her in marriage to Dhritarashtra. Gandhari is a very cultured lady, very educated lady, very knowledgeable lady, and she has got absolutely the best of qualities a woman can have. And her Guru Bhakti, the way she treats all the elders after in the marriage in the house that she goes to, earns her a terrific name. Okay? She is a classic character of Bharata. Okay. Now there is this Radha Kunti Bhoja, who has got the daughter of Surasena. Surasena is who? Is Krishna's grandfather. Vasudeva is Krishna's real father. Vasudeva's father is Surasena. Surasena had a daughter called Pritha, who was given to Kunti Bhoja. Right? That makes Pritha what of Krishna? What will she be? Krishna's father's sister. Means Kunti, her name is. Pritha's name is Kunti because she has been brought by adopted her. Firstborn. Kunti does not have children. His friend says, my firstborn child shall be yours. Firstborn child is Pritha. Since she is adopted by Kunti Bhoja, she is called Kunti. Kunti is Vyasa says, has got big eyes. Kunti has big eyes. She has done wonderful qualities. She observes every vratam. She is perfect in every way. Vyasa says, all great qualities a woman can have are found in this girl, Kunti. Alright? Whether it is beauty, whether it is humility, whether it is modesty, whether it is being able to finish a job that is taken up, whether it is being able to patch up people, bring peace around, whatever are good qualities considered in a woman, they all find residence in this girl, Pritha, known as Kunti. And she was big eyes and very beautiful. So any number of kings have been seeking her hand. They've been dropping hints and asking and sending messages to her father, Kunti Bhoja, for her hand. And the day comes and he keeps a Swayamvaram for her. A Swayamvara is where she will choose her husband. All the kings will come and they all come. And she sees Pandu sitting there among the gallery of kings. Bhishma sends Pandu also there. Pandu is sitting there. And he has the demeanor of a lion. He's like a Simha. He's sitting there. He's got a broad chest and a Vrishabhaksha, he says. His eyes are like a Vrishabha. What is a Vrishabha? Big, confident eyes. And he's shining like the sun. Among all these kings, he's shining like the sun. She turned to her, she sees him and she is straight away attracted to him, and she shyly walks towards him and puts the Jayamala, the garland, on his neck. She chooses him, and they are looking like Indra and his wife Sachi. That's how they're looking. Right, now, okay, they get married. Pandu gets married to Kunti. Dhritarashtra is married to Gandhari. After some time, Bhishma decides, and these are the way the kings used to have. He decides that Pandu should have another wife, a second wife. So kings used to have 3, 4, maybe more. So Bhishma decides that he had his eyes on that Madri, that Madra king. There was one princess there. I said, there's one more girl there. Bhishma himself, as far as he was concerned, he had no idea of any marriage or no question, full brahmachari, but he took care of others, their needs, especially in his lineage. He knew. So then here he was, and he went to the Madra king. Madra king's name was Shalya. He will come a lot in Bharata. Keep that name in mind. He's a powerful man. Shalya is one of the most powerful character in terms of strength. Very strong man of Bharata. Shalya, like Bhima. Shalya. He was the king. Bhishma goes to his kingdom, and Shalya welcomes him with all honors, makes him sit down and asks by and by says, what can I do for you? Bhishma says, consider it that I have come for asking for a hand of a girl. Your sister, Madri, is well known for her qualities. I have come to ask her hand for my nephew, Pandu. Shalya says, what can I say except a better match for her I cannot even think of. Even if I were to dream of anybody, nobody better than Pandu could have been there for Madri, there is no doubt about it. But there is a tradition in my family. There is a tradition in my family that we take dowry. Okay? We take dowry. Now whether this tradition is good or bad is not for me to say. I cannot sit on judgment on it, but it is there. So on the face of it, I am not able to tell you straight away whether I can give you the hand of Madhuri for Pandu or not. I can't commit right now. Bhishma is an old statesman. He has seen many situations like this. So he says it's a good tradition and it is there, which has been set up by your elders, so it must be followed. There is no quarrel about this tradition. And he is prepared for it. He has brought a huge amount of wealth and jewelry and horses and elephants and everything ready. Because Shalya says, you must have heard of this tradition, surely, in our family. He says, yeah, I know about this tradition. And he gives all that. Shalya is happy with the amount of dowry that is given for his sister. He says, yours. Madhuri for Pandu, sealed, done. Alright? Okay. So now we have the situation. Dhritarashtra with Gandhari. Pandu with, who are Pandu's wives? Kunti and Madhuri are his wife. The country is now great because Bhishma has brought it to a great stage. Now the next step any king has to do, now that he is married, everything is set, Pandu decides to go on a conquest of the entire country. The king will go and conquer the entire country. So he goes, he takes the blessings of Bhishma, he takes the blessings of his brother Dhritarashtra and sets out to conquer the entire countries. He conquers a place called Dasharna, then Magadha, then Mithila, then Kashi, and like a forest fire, he conquered every king in the land of Bharatvarsha. Everybody comes under him, like his grandfather Shantanu was a Rajarajeshwara. All the Rajas were beholden to him. Like that, Pandu defeats every single king and collects huge amount of booty from them. You know what is booty? Booty is what? B-O-O-T-Y.
Treasures, money, horses, camels, goats, jewelry, servants, all sorts of things.
Every kingdom that he conquers, and he comes back to his native place, Hastinapura, where Bhishma gives him a grand welcome. How proud will Bhishma be that Shantanu's feat has been done by Pandu? Grand welcome. Pandu distributes the booty that he has brought. He gives to his brother Dhritarashtra, he gives to his mothers Ambika and Ambalika, he gives to his grandmother Satyavati, he gives to Bhishma. Huge wealth that he has brought after his conquest, he gives to them all. Satyavati is overjoyed. Dhritarashtra does 100 Ashwamedha Yagams celebrating the conquest. Such is the amount of grandeur. Having now conquered and subdued the entire land, Pandu decides to go to the forest with his wives and conquer the forest, so to say. In the sense, live in the forest, hunt. The things that a king does. Kings go for shikar, hunting. Months on end inside the forest. So he, along with Madri and Kunti, he's like the Airavata, the elephant in the forest, shining. And the two beautiful queens and their servants, when they go into the forests, Himalayas. The Vanavasis, the people who actually are inhabitants of the forest, when they look at this king, sword and shining queens and jewelry, they think they are some devas or something. They can't be. That's how they're looking inside the forest. And they are kings. Dhritarashtra keeps them supplied with all bhoga samagri. All good things to eat and drink are kept. Supply is there for them. Wherever they camp, on Dafedar will be there. People will come. Dhritarashtra would have sent something. No problem. Alright? Meanwhile, Vidura is there, third fellow. Let us not forget him. Dhritarashtra is married, Pandu is married. Bhishma finds a suitable girl who is the daughter of King Devaka and gets Vidura married to her. She is like him in disposition. Very fine, sattvic, dharmic lady. It suits Vidura absolutely to a T. Bhishma took some time. Other types you can find slightly faster, but most dharmic etc. take a little bit more time. He found it and gave it to Vidura. Alright. Okay. Alright. One day, when they were in the forest, hunting, Pandu sees two deer. A male deer, which looks like the king of the pack, a male deer, and obviously its mate, a female deer, playing with each other in great passion. And Pandu takes his arrow, boom, he shoots and hits both of them with well aimed arrows. He's a good in arrows, Dhanurvidya. Hadak, it falls on the ground. Even as they were kissing, they fall on the ground, these two deer. Now this deer starts speaking in man's voice. The one male deer which has fallen on the ground. And it looks up and says, it's dying, but it says, even as far as I know, even people who are greedy, even people who are ill-tempered people, ill-tempered people, like me, ill-tempered people, even papis, even papis, mahapapis, they do not indulge in such a cruel deed as you have done. The deer tells Pandu. Then it does some philosophical thinking also and says, it looks like Vidhi overcome. Vidhi, Vidhi, fate. Vidhi seems to overcome the discrimination of even most intelligent people. If it is there in the Vidhi, your brain doesn't work at that time, he says. This deer is telling Pandu. Although you have been born in such a great family, how is it that you allowed yourself to commit such an adharma? That deer asks Pandu. Pandu looks at the deer and says, why are you unnecessarily blaming me? Okay? What are you complaining about? Just like I deal with an enemy, I deal with animals. Right? Whether shooting an animal directly or whether shooting it from hiding, every damn thing is allowed for me. As a Kshatriya. It's a part of my dharma. Who are you to question me? You are an animal. I have shot you. It's a fair game. What are you complaining about? So now this fellow says, deer says, dharma, it says about enemies. You talked about enemies. Dharma allows you to kill enemies only on appropriate circumstances. You can kill them during a war. For example, arbitrarily you cannot kill the fellow. Okay? Okay? Like that. Pandu says, but that does not apply to animals. Okay? I can use any means to kill an animal. The deer says, listen, I am not blaming you for killing me. Listen, I am not blaming you for killing me. Alright? I am blaming you because you killed me when I was playing with my wife. That's why I am blaming you. You showed no compassion, none, when you committed this act. You were cruel when you did this. Surely what you have done is 100% a sin. You have committed a sin, and this sin will sully your fame, your kirti. It will affect the great Pandu. His kirti will go. Now, how quick fame goes by wrong acts. Amazing. Doesn't take much. Takes long time to build a name. Takes no time to lose it. Lose it. Okay? It will sully your fame. And moreover, this act of yours will be an obstacle to your salvation. The deer tells. And she says, you are a king. Your duty is to uphold dharma and punish those who transgress dharma, who do adharma. That is your duty. And here you are committing a dharma on your own. The deer is telling. Okay? Then it says, listen, I need to tell you this. I am actually a rishi. The deer says. I am a muni. I am a muni who lives on roots and fruits. And this deer who is dead by me is my wife, my rishi patni. I am a young rishi. Is my wife. When we want to indulge in some passion, we take the form of deer because as a rishi, body of a rishi, I don't think it is right, so we take the form of a deer. Rarely, but sometimes we take. But since you did not know that we are rishis, the sin of Brahmahatya will not come to you. Don't worry. If you have killed a rishi, you get Brahmahatya, finished. You did not know that we are rishi who have taken the form of a deer. So the sin of Brahmahatya will not come to you. You please don't have any worry on that account. But still you have done a grave wrong. And for that, I will have to curse you. If you ever embrace your wife in passion, you too will die. That Pandu, see, the deer tells Pandu, you too will die. You will not have children. Curses him. Okay? But if such a thing happens, your wife will also, like this wife who is dead, will also follow you to Yamaloka, but will serve you there. saying which the deer died. Having cursed Pandu, the deer died. Alright? The deer died. Brahma Shapam has hit Pandu's family now. They say in Tamil, Aadu Tinna Shedi, a plant which a goat has come and eaten a bit, and Brahma Shapam on the Kudumo, it will go to dogs. A plant which a goat nibbles apparently will die. Nothing, it won't survive, they say. I don't know. So also, and this seems to be borne by evidence that families who have been cursed go to ruins for no fault of all the descendants. But it has been seen. One has seen it happening. Any number of stories of any number of families with huge land holdings gone to dogs in debt for some bloody damn wrong they committed for which they were cursed by some. Now our man is cursed and he is stricken with sorrow. Now he knows Rishi, this, that. He's a good man, but it was Vidhi. Now Pandu says, it is indeed sad that people born in good families, cultured people, also are overcome by passion and lose their mind. And they do wrong deeds and they achieve bad ends, Durgati. It is indeed sad, says Pandu, thinking about himself. He says, I have heard that even Vichitravirya is his father, right? He died early death because he was too passionate. He did not reason. He did not moderate. He did things in excess. Died. I was too fond of hunting and that has brought my ruin. Just too fond of hunting, I didn't think. He says, now, what option do I have? I have decided that from now on, I will work towards moksha, salvation. All my conduct from now on, so far so good, I understand the story. All the conduct I do from now on will be towards salvation. I will follow the steps of my father Vyasa. The way Vyasa's conduct is, I will try to follow that conduct and not the conduct I have led so far in life. Alright. Okay? And then he says, this bondage and this desire, this leads to sadness and ruin. So, he now starts saying, I will follow the steps of Vyasa. I will do severe tapas. I am going to do severe tapas. I will subject my body and mind to tapas. You know what is tapas? Meditation. Sit down, deep meditation. Severe tapas. Okay? I will live alone. I will not live with my wives. With Kunti and Madri I will not live. I will live alone. I will not have servants and all that. Nobody. I will be alone. I will live under trees. I will live under trees and whatever fruits I get from the trees, that will be my food, that will be my bhiksha. Okay? I will shave my head and become a Mauni sannyasi. I will be quiet, I will not speak. I will be a Mauni sannyasi. I will roam about in the forest and I will go to the ashrams of other rishis and ascetics. I will be in the forest. I will avoid people, worldly people I will avoid. And I will not care for my body, if it becomes dirty and dusty, and I couldn't care less. I will give up desires, every desire that I have I will renounce, I will give up liking of every object. The king who's saying all this, I'll give it up. Whether that object is likable, priyamana vastu or apriyamana vastu, either which way, I will give up my need for them. I will not grieve, I will not feel sad if I am separated from anybody. If somebody dies or somebody goes away, I will feel no grief about it. Neither will I feel happy if somebody and a good friend comes or a brother drops in. Neither because somebody comes, nor because somebody goes. If somebody praises me, I will not feel happy. If somebody criticizes me, I will not feel sad about it. I will not seek anybody's ashirvadam. Nor will I seek any namaskaram. You please prostrate to me. Won't make a difference to me. I will remain unaffected by happiness and sorrow. I will not laugh at anybody. I will not laugh at anybody, neither will I strain my eyebrows being angry with anybody. Okay? My face will always reflect happiness. Prasanna vadanam. You know, Shuklam Bharadram you said? Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna vadanam. Prasanna vadanam means happy face. Alright, Prasanna vadanam. And I will be compassionate to all creatures. I will cause hurt to no living creature. No living creature will I cause hurt from now on. That is actually the verb that every sannyasi takes. When some people take sannyasa, one of the verbs that they take is Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyo. I give fearlessness from me to every creature. No, let no creature in the world have any fear from me. Whether it is a worm or a villain. Let no one entertain any fear from me. That's the sannyasa of vrata that he is taking now. He is saying, I will cause hurt to no one. I will have the same samatvam for all creatures, whether it is a dog or an ascetic or a woman or an old woman. I will have a samatvam to all of them. And if there are no fruits in the trees, I will go and beg from a few houses. And if I don't get anything in the house, I will not feel bad about it. I will fast. He is telling the entire way a sannyasi is to live in this chapter. You might be getting bored, but just so that you know what all a sannyasi has to do, I am telling you this. I will eat in moderation. Just because I get a lot of pulao, I will not finish it all. Moderation. Okay? Sannyasis usually eat as much. That's how much they will beg. That's how much they'll eat. And as Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi used to do as a child, clean his hand and his head, walk away like a king, he said. Alright? That's how much. Not eat in moderation. And if I don't get something to eat, I won't get hassle. I will do intense tapas. Okay, now he says, if one man, talk about it. If one man comes and cuts a hand of mine, and another man comes and puts sandalwood on the other hand, neither I'll feel happy for the guy who put sandalwood, nor I'm going to feel angry with the man who cut my hand. I will not have the desires of a person who is desperate to die. You know, there are people who are desperate to die. Neither will I have desires of a person who is so desperate to live. I will neither rejoice because of life, nor will I hate death, nor will I oppose death. Okay? Every activity that human beings perform for getting success and fortune, every such activity I renounce herewith. All these are transitory. The fruits that they give are not permanent. Whatever you do, small time, you will get some happiness or some sorrow. Every single such activity I renounce. I give up all the activities of my senses, my eyes, my ears, my tongue, my skin. All the activities of that I renounce. Why? I even renounce the fruit of dharma, he says. If dharma gives a good fruit, I renounce that too. I am going to make my mind clean and pure. I will make my mind clean and pure. I will break away from all sins and I will overcome avidya and bondage. And like the wind and the air, I will roam anywhere. Like this, I shall strive for moksha, and finally I will shed my body. You have 5 minutes more? Is it 5 to 8? Right. I will shed my body in the end. This is what he is telling his wives, Madhuri and Kunti. Family life and having children is not for me. It's not for me. And it will only lead to misery after this. Shapam. Misery. Family life is not for me. On the contrary, now he's getting even more vairagya. Such a life is fit only for dogs, he says. No, that is not for him. Okay. It's fit only for dogs. Doesn't matter where you get the vairagya from. Doesn't matter. It comes, grab it with both hands. That's what is done. Opportunity has come. He grabbed it with both hands and is now driving his subconscious into accepting the new life. Driving himself. None of that what he has said is going to be easy for a man who's lived a life like that. But he's going strong. Okay? And what he's doing, Vyasa says, he's taking deep breath and is extremely sad when he's saying all this. Ativa dukkham, but huge breath he's taking and is telling his wives all this. And then he says, please go away, go back. You, to his wives and the servants, all of you go from here. And please go to home and tell Dhritarashtra, tell Satyavati, Dhritarashtra, Amba, Ambalika, Vidura, Sanjaya, Bhishma, and everybody, the priests, the ministers, please tell them that Pandu has become a sannyasi and gone away into the forest. Now this Kunti and Madhuri don't know what has hit them. They have had a good life. They have adjusted to each other. Fine compromises have been made. Everything is fine. Alright. Good life. All bhoga, the samagri and all is coming. The queens, Pandu the king. What is the problem? Now, in a stroke of an hour, their life has changed totally. But they are not Kunti and Madhuri for nothing. So they say, excuse me to Pandu, but there are other ways, sir, other than sannyas, by which all that you say can be done. Intense tapas can be done, and surely you will be successful in your tapas with your capability that you can even rule the heaven like Indra. Why can't you take Vanaprastha? Vanaprastha ashrama is there, where after brahmacharya, there's grihastha ashram, after grihastha, there's Vanaprastha, when the husband and wife both go to the forest. But they live like rishis, doing tapas. And the Kunti and Madhuri say, surely if you renounce the two of us, we have no life left in, we will also die. Straight away we will die. On the contrary, if you do Vanaprastha, we can also join you in tapas. We will also do tapas with you. Surely what is wrong with that? They ask. We will give up all desires and do tapas with you. And Pandu says, but then the vidhis of Vanaprastha ashrama are so difficult. Not easy. Okay? Renouncing all pleasures, all pleasure-giving objects, be living on roots and fruits, wearing a tree bark or deer skin, doing all the vratas, eating very little, cold, heat, wind, bearing all that, not caring for hunger or thirst, all that, it's not so easy. They said, no, we will do it. With you, we can do it. Okay? So, they decide to live the life of Vanaprastha people. And he gives all the possessions, his wife's jewelry, his own, everything he takes off and gives it in dan to people around. Just gives it as dan, calls his servants and tells them to go back and leave them alone in the forest and take the message that Pandu has given up all pleasures and his wives have given up all pleasures and decide to live a life of forest dwellers as doing tapas in Vanaprastha, and they are not to be disturbed. The servants, they shout, ha ha, they don't know what's happening. They are shedding hot tears, hot tears. But they are ordered by Pandu, and they go back with that message to Dhritarashtra and Bhishma and others. Namah Parvati Pataye Janaki Kanta Smaranam Gopika Jivana Smaranam Vetrivel Muruganak Sadguru Swaminah Yanjaneya Swaminah. Called Kudumba Prachne. See you.